Hello, everyone. Welcome to Thursday night YouTube Live with independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator Teresa Harper. I'm located in Oregon in the United States, and I'm so happy that you are here this evening. Thanks so much for joining me. Okay, I'm not sure I'm very straight, and okay, well, we'll see how that looks. Let's wait a few minutes and see if anyone gets on, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, so got that. So I can get the chat up here. Let's do this again. Let's see. That chat comes up. There we go. Hello, Cynthia. Oh, good. You figured out how to do this. Yay, yay, yay. Awesome. Thanks so much for joining. Okay. So my project for tonight is going to be another fold flat treat box. If you've been watching my Facebook channel, you've seen several fold flat boxes. And I had said that at one point I would be resizing the fold flat box that I had made to fit on a half a sheet of cardstock. So I sat down this week and I redesigned those measurements so that you can get two of the fold flat boxes out of a half a sheet of cardstock. And it's the way I've done it, there's no waste whatsoever. So that will be what we are making tonight. So because it's a fold flat box and you can make it now to fill later, we're going to go ahead and use some of the July online exclusives. And we have the Jar of Joy stamp set by Stampin' Up! And then it has a coordinating sweet jar builder punch. This builder punch can be bundled with the sweet jar stamp set, which was released in May as a bundle. So this is a May online exclusive. You can bundle those two together and save 10% on the items over what you would pay individually. Okay, and then this is an add-on set, so you could add this on as well. So we're going to go ahead and use this tonight. And in addition, I've made another one. We're not going to make it together, but I will show you my Fright Night version as well. Let's go ahead and get started. Hi, Tracy. Okay, so let's not set my punch too far away so that I have a hold of that. Okay, so in addition to the sweet jar and the jar of joy, you guys, I pulled out all the stops for the mashup tonight. We're going to be using the stripes and dots stamp set. This is in the annual catalog. And this stamp set is pretty cool because it can be a background set that you can use all together as one piece, or you can pull out the individual pieces. And that's what we're going to be doing. We'll be using this one, which is an individual piece. But you can stack these all together on a block or just use them in your case like this and ink up an entire background. Okay, so that's what we're going to be using that. And then I also felt like we needed some falling snow, and this is going to be my this is an online exclusive. It's still current, and I'm going to be using this for our designer series paper. We're going to make our own with this. Okay, all right, so let's go ahead and get started. We've got a piece of Secret Sea cardstock. This piece is cut at 5.5 by 8.5, which would be a standard A2 card size. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and make that into a box right away. Okay, So let's bring in our scoring tool. And we're going to put this on the 5.5-inch side and score this at 1/2 inch and 1.5 inches. And then we're going to turn it 180 degrees and score it at 1/2 and 1.5. Now, if you don't wish to do that, you could score it at 1/2, 1.5, 4 inches, and 5 inches. I do mine with flipping it around because if you don't cut this exactly 5.5 and you score it at 1/2 and 1.5 and flip it, then your box measurements are the same no matter what. Okay, you won't have an extra little bit over here or a short little bit over here if you didn't cut it exactly 5.5. Okay, so then on the 8.5-inch side, we're going to score this at 1 inch and 3 3/4. And again, I'm going to flip this 180 degrees and we'll score it at 1 inch and 3 3/4. Okay, that is all of our scoring. Well, using the scoring tool. Let me clarify that because we're still going to do a little bit of scoring, but we need to do some hand scoring because we need some diagonal folds. So to start with, I'm just going to go ahead and burnish all of these score lines that I made, making sure that my edges line up here. Okay, then we're going to do some trimming. Now these are symmetrical. It doesn't matter which side you use. So pick a short side, and we're going to cut up on the second score line from the outside on both sides. Okay, so we're going to cut up here, and we're going to go up to the second score line, and we're going to stop there. So we've got this little leggy piece. Then we're going to go to the second score line from the outside, and we're going to remove that section. We're going to do the same thing on the other end. Cut that up on the second score line from the outside, and then remove that section. Okay, that is all. That is that cutting. Now we've got 4 little 1/2 inch rectangles here. They're 1/2 inch by 1 inch. There's 4 of them on these 4 little corners that remain, and we're going to cut those 1/2 inch by 1 inch rectangles off. Just remove that one little piece. I'm going to do that on all 4 of these corners. I did not get this straight. Let me straighten that up. Okay, and again, I'm going to cut off the 1/2 inch by 1 inch rectangle. Okay, now that is all of our cutting. Okay, so this is what our template looks like, or this is what our box looks like. This is what our template looks like. You can see that they are the same here. Okay, so this is going to be the bottom of our box, and these are going to be our sides. And in order for these to fold flat, we need to do some diagonal score lines. So you can bring in a foam pad, or you can use your silicone mat. I'm going to use my silicone mat and a ruler, and I'm going to put my stylus tool right in this intersection where these 4 come together, and then I'm going to lay my ruler down like so, and then I'm going to score to the corner. Okay, so from the intersection to the corner. I'm going to score that just like that. And I'm going to repeat that for the other 3 corners. So the 4 corner intersection to the corner, 4 corner intersection to the corner, center of that intersection to the corner. Okay, now I've got all of those done, and we're on the inside of our box. So I'm going to take these scores, and that's a valley score. I'm going to turn that into a mountain fold. Valley score to a mountain fold, again and again. And basically, if you look at this now like this, you've turned your box inside out. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is add our glue to this section. So what we're going to do is we're going to take these 4 sections here. So these ones, 1, 2, 3, 4. So those 4 that have the X's is where we're going to put our glue. Okay? And how you need to think about it is it's that triangle that's on the farthest out but closest to the inside. So this is farthest out, closest to the inside of the box. Okay, so then we're just going to put some liquid glue here and here and here and here. Okay, so let me bring that up so you can get a better view on where you want to put your glue. Oh, maybe too far up. Maybe too far. There we go. There we go. There's your glue. Okay, 4 sections, outside triangles, closest to the inside. Okay, now to seal this down, all we have to do is fold this in and hold those corners where we have our glue. Now you can use tear and tape, but you need to use a strong adhesive. And then I'm just going to take my bone folder and give those a good press to make sure that I burnish that glue in there so those really will stick well. Okay, so we're just going to burnish and burnish. Okay, now we've got our 4 sides. Now we're going to go ahead and set this aside and let it dry, and we're going to work on some other things. And here's a picture of that template if you need to take a screenshot. Okay. All right. Now, let's go ahead and do a little bit of stamping. Okay. I'm going to move that out of the way. And we are going to do some stamping on here. This is going to be our designer series paper that we're going to make. Okay. And then let's see, I think and then I pre-cut out of a scrap of Poppy Parade from the Notes and Totes dies, which are in the annual catalog. There is a coordinating stamp set, and it can be purchased in a bundle. This is the stamp set, but this makes some fabulous little totes. Okay. And this is the die right here. This is that tag die. Okay, so we're going to use that. So I'm going to set that aside so we don't lose it. And we're going to do our stamping. So let's bring in our falling snow stamp set. And let's stamp this is cloud cover. It's a quarter sheet of cardstock. I won't need the whole thing, but it's a quarter sheet, and it's just as easy just to ink it up and give myself a little bit of extra. Okay, so I'm just going to take some Secret Sea ink, and I'm just going to ink mine right in the case, just like that. And then I threw my scrap paper away thinking, oh, what do I need my scrap paper for, really? Oh, now I can't get my drawer open either. Oh my goodness. Hang on. There, that didn't lock into place like it needed to. Sorry about that. I'll grab a new piece of scrap paper here out of my drawer. Okay, so then we're just going to take this piece of cardstock and set it down. And then I'm just going to take my hand and hold on to that tight with one hand and rub with the other. Then I'm going to set this one, move this one, and rub some more. And by making sure that I have a good tight hold here with one hand, my cardstock will be unlikely to move. Okay, and I'm just going to rub that all around, making sure that I get everywhere. Okay, and I'm going to hold on to that, and there we go. So there is our designer series paper. Now I'm going to set this aside, and I'll just take it and take a chamois to it later. But for now, it's good. Now this is our designer series paper. We're going to cut this up, but we've got some more stamping to do. So let's take a piece of basic white here, and this is going to be white enough. So I'm going to take my stripey stamp from the Stripes and Dots, and I'm going to take some Poppy Parade ink and move that out of the way. Poppy Parade ink. You could use Real Red. My embellishments are Real Red, but I don't think they look bad with the Poppy Parade, so I'm just going to ink this up carefully. And then I'm going to try and line this up straight. Let's see how I do. I'm going to use this grid paper here. Line that up like that, and then of course, everything has to move. Okay, and then we're just going to set this down and try to put that on nice and straight. Okay, let that ink soak into the paper, and there we go. So this is going to be an embellishment for us. We have some more stamping to do, so let's go ahead and do that. First of all, we're going to take the Secret Sea ink, or not Secret Sea, sorry. We're going to take Shaded Spruce, and we're going to take the jar from the Jar of Joy. And I'm going to ink this up, but I'm going to go just a little bit over so I can get my jar lid over here. So I'm just going to put this about right here. And I'm not really pressing on this. This is a thin piece of photopolymer, so you really just want to set it down and lift it up so that you don't distort the image. Now, I'm taking the jar lid from the Sweet Jar bundle. There is a jar lid in Jar of Joy, but I really prefer the Sweet Jar lid. For this particular project, you can see with this one, it's more open, and I would have had to stamp it on colored cardstock and or color it. And I don't feel like doing that, so I'm just going to take the easy route and ink the Sweet Jar one up since I have it already in Shaded Spruce, and that's going to be my jar lid. Okay? So while we have the Shaded Spruce ink out, we're going to bring in the little label from the Notes and Totes bundle. And we're going to take the sentiment, a little treat for you from this sweet jar bundle. Okay, it's not in the jar of joy. The jar of joy sentiments were too long for my liking, but sweet jar has a little treat for you. Okay, and really all I want is the words for you. So I'm going to bring in some tape, and I'm going to mask off a little treat so that I just have the words for you showing, and then I'm going to ink that up. Okay, and then I'll pull that tape off, and I'll stamp down for you. Okay, so now I've got for you. All right, so let's set that aside. And so we've got this piece, we've got this piece. We need to do a little more stamping in this piece. So from the Jar of Joy, we're going to take the little snowman and Secret Sea ink. I love that those two lids are interchangeable. The jar, there's another a jar that's just a little bit different as well. So you could use either jar with either lid. And I really like how you can mix and match all of the stuff between these two stamp sets. So I'm just going to put my little snowman down here in my Secret Sea. And then he has a little scarf, and then this piece is the brim of the hat, and it's on one stamp. So we're going to bring in our Poppy Parade ink again. I'm going to ink up that scarf and hat brim. And because this is photopolymer, you should be able to line that up pretty good. Okay. So there we have that. Let's go ahead and bring in Timid Tiger. I'm using the light Stampin' Blend. And I'm just going to dot a little bit of Timid Tiger on his carrot nose. And the last thing I need to do to finish this jar is I'm going to bring in from the Jar of Joy, there's this dotty stamp that looks like snow, kind of. So we're going to bring that in, and we're going to use some cloud cover ink and some scrap paper. Nope, I'm just going to do full strength. I'm going to do this real light and do full strength, otherwise it's going to be too light. We're not going to see it. And then what's the point, right? So we'll just do some moving around of our stamp to try and get this all filled in. Okay. So that is our jar with our little snowman. Okay. Now we can take and be very careful because your Secret Sea will bleed if you get too much ink on it. So I'm just going to put a little bit of Wink of Stella here just to make my snow shine a bit. Okay, so we've got that. Now we don't have to cut these. We're just going to take our punch. I'm going to start by punching out my jar lid. and then my jar. Now you can make some kind of templates and stamp those all together and punch them together, but I just find it easier to do them separate. So that's how I'm doing it. Okay. So now we have our jar and our jar lid. We'll put that up there with our tag. And then we have this piece. So let's go ahead and trim this piece out. And it's looking like I stamped it pretty straight. So I'm just going to put the very bottom and take off just a sliver of that. And then I'm going to turn this around and line that up. And now I've got the piece that I need. Okay, so we'll set that aside. Oh, and we need to cut some more. We need to cut our designer series paper that we made. So let's take this piece and we need to cut this at, well, first of all, I'm going to take off the excess that doesn't have a pattern on it. I'm going to remove that. Then I'm going to cut this to 2 5/8. Okay, so this is 2 1/2, and then this little short line here is 2 5/8. Okay, so you've got 2 1/2, 2 9/16, and then this is 2 5/8, and that's what you need. So 2 5/8. Okay, so we're gonna cut that, and then we need it to be 2 3/8. So again, we're going to go the second longest tick mark after the quarter. And that is going to give us our first piece for the top of our box. Now, I need 2 of these that are 7/8 by 2 5/8. So we're going to cut this 7/8 and 7/8. Okay. And then I need 2 that are 2 3/8. So I'm going to take my leftover here, because this pattern, this snowflake thing is non-directional. So I'm going to put this at 2 3/8 because that's what I need it to be. 2 3/8. And that's looking like I've got just a little bit of non-paper there. So let's fix that. We're going to go 2 3/8. Okay. And then I'm going to cut this into 2 7/8 pieces. Okay, that is not quite 7/8. So let's go here. I'm not sure what I did this last time. Oh, I should have done this. 2 3, no. 2 3/8. It's okay, and then we'll just go 7/8 here. Okay, and there we go. Now we have all the pieces that we need from that 1/4 sheet of cardstock that we stamped. Okay, so now we have all the pieces to decorate our box except for the embellishment. So let's go ahead. This is the top of our box, and if you had a pattern paper, you need the top of your pattern up here and the bottom of your pattern here, unless you're going to open your box this way. I'm opening my box this way. So I'm going to take my 2 5/8 by 2 3/8, and I'm going to add this to my box. just like this. Okay. Whoops. See, it looks like I still moved it. Darn it. Haven't pressed it down so I can still move it around and finagle it until I get it how I want it. Okay, so I've got that. Now I need one of those short pieces, the 2 3/8. I need that down here. So I'm going to go ahead and decide. I'm going to use this piece right here, and I'm going to put that down. I'm going to go ahead and use a little bit of liquid glue here, just because it's a little bit faster, I think. And we'll add this to this is basically going to be the front of our box. And then I'm going to place the other one. This is the back of the box. So we're going to add that. And we're going to put that right here. Okay. Now we can flip our box. All right. And these are the sides of our box. So I'm going to add one here and one here. And it may look like it's on the inside, but when we finish, it's going to be on the outside. We've got this. And this. Okay. So now when we close up our box, all we have to do is push on the back, push on the front. Those are our inner tabs. And then now you can see that we have our designer series paper on all four sides and the top. Okay. Now we'll work on closing this box in a minute. And actually, let me see. Yes, I did. I'm going to take another one of these. And I'm actually going to put this down here in the front. Okay. And this one looks like it's plenty good sized. Yep. I'm going to go ahead and cut that. And that way, when we open our box, we will have a design as well. Okay, so 7/8, and this piece needs to be 2 3/8. This is an optional piece. You decide whether you want to put it in or not. Of course, you can decorate your box however you wish. But that's what I'm going to do with mine, and I'm going to put one right here. So if you're going to add this piece, you need 3 pieces that are 7/8 by 2 3/8, 2 pieces that are 7/8 by 2 5/8, and 1 piece that is 2 7/8 by 2 3/8. Okay, so that's where we're at so far. Now we're going to take this piece and I'm going to run this edge to edge, not just along the designer series paper that we created. So we're going to cut this piece at 2 5/8. But I want to take a look at this and see what that's going to look like when I start cutting things off. So I'm going to bring this up here and take a look at about what I want. Okay, so I'm going to start cutting about here. I'm going to cut there, and then I'll work with it from there. So I've got that. If I cut this at 2 5/8, which is the measurement that I need, actually I need 2 3/4 to go all the way across. So then let's see what that's going to be just about perfect from side to side. okay, for the pattern that I'm looking for. So now I can take this. No, I didn't need 2 3/4. What did I need? Oh, 2 1/2. I think I did that earlier. Hang on, 2 3/4 is this way. That's where I'm getting the 2 3/4 measurement. So I need this to be 2 1/2. So I'm going to cut this here and here. I'm trying to finagle so that my stripes look sort of the same where they start and end. Okay, so I just keep cutting until I get what I want without getting too short. And then I can put this right in here. All right, so this is going to go on here. I might have to trim just a smidge of this off. Come on. Come on, glue. I think it's protesting that I left it open. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and put this just low of center. Like that. I'm going to line this up on one side. Make sure that's nice and even. And then I'll need to trim, like I said, just a smidge. Okay, so there we go. Now let's go ahead and put our jar lid on our jar. I'm just going to take a little bit of liquid glue, and I'm going to try and keep my glue above the jar stamp line. So super thin line of glue here. And this is not wanting to work. Hang on, let me grab my silicone sheet and make this. I got a clog. Okay. Get that completely out of the way so I don't make a mess. Come on. Just a little. There we go. Just a little bit. And then I'm just going to drag my tip to spread out that glue. Whoops. Before I do that, I'm going to remove all of the white from the bottom of my lid, or pretty much all of the white, and then I'm going to round these corners just a bit so they're not sharp. Okay, you don't have to do this. I prefer not having the white. I don't want it to look like they're separate pieces. I want it to look like it's one cohesive unit. Okay, so there is my jar now. Let's close this up. We don't need a bigger clog. All right, now we're ready to add this to our project. So let's grab some Stampin' Dimensionals. And I'm going to make sure that one of my Stampin' Dimensionals crosses the jar and the jar lid to give it a little bit of extra support. I'm going to add this, and we are almost done here. So let's add our jar lid, our jar, just like this. Okay. Now, we're going to bring in some real red and white baker's twine and make a bow. Okay. So I'm just going to take my twine And I want a 3-loop twine. So we're just going to give this a tie. Like so. Give that a trim. Okay. And then we're going to take a glue dot. Take a mini glue dot. Stuck to my finger. Now lay that down in the glue dot. Squeeze it together, and then I'm going to put it on a second glue dot just to make sure I've got plenty of sticky. Okay. Now I'm just going to leave this here for a second on my paper. Okay. And I'm going to bring in my For You. Okay. And I'm going to bring in some white baker's twine from the Baker's Twine Essential Pack. You get a set of 5 different colors: gray granite, black, crumb cake, very vanilla, and white. And I'm going to give myself plenty of baker's twine because I learned that's how you need to do this if you don't want to fight yourself too hard. And I'm going to thread this through the front of my tag. Okay. And then I'm going to take my Real Red and I'm going to take this over the top here and through the back, and I'm going to hold the back of that piece with the with the glue dot. Okay, I'm going to give that just a little bit of room there so that it looks like this. And then I'm going to take this whole piece and stick it to my jar like so. So now I've got this. I can adjust my string because I've still got the top free, right? So I can still adjust that. Then I'm going to take a mini glue dot or a mini dimensional. I'm going to stick it on the back of my tag. I'm going to put this tag where I want it to sit. Like so. Okay, now this is stuck down. The back of my baker's twine is stuck down. So that's going to give me some leverage to make another little bow with my white baker's twine. And I'm not having to fight everything because it's still stuck. Okay. Now you could do this with the box filled and that would give you a little less movement, but it's okay. So I've made myself a nice big bow. I don't want a big bow. So I'm going to take and hold on to the center and pull. And with the baker's twine, you need to make sure when you're pulling that your twine is straight, not curvy. Because if you pull it when it's curvy, that's the way it's going to stay. It's going to flop over on you. So make sure that your bow tails are the direction that you want them. Okay, so now I've got all that on. I can trim this off. The tag is now tied on. And we can cut that off. All right, at this point, before we put the embellishments on, I'm going to go ahead and give my box a box closure. So I'm going to bring in a Velcro dot. These are the 3/8 inch thin clear fasteners. You can get them on Amazon. And I'm just going to take one of these, which I've got right there. I like to remove the backing on the white side. There's a white side and a clear side. I'm removing the backing on the white side. Try not to touch it any more than you have to, so it doesn't lose its stick. And then we're going to put this right in the middle of this section here, not this bottom section. This is the top. So we're just going to eyeball this and stick it right there in the center as best we can on all four sides, okay? Then we can go ahead and remove the backing from the clear side, leaving those two pieces stuck together. Then I'm going to push on the back at the same time I push on the front, close in my sides, hold it all together square, and give that a press here. And then very carefully lift that off. Now I'm going to take my bone folder. I'm going to burnish this side. This is going to fold flat, remember, so now I can go to the opposite side and burnish that. And now, when I pop the back and the front, my box is held closed. All right? The final thing that we need to do for this, other than fill it, is to take our red and white peppermints. Oh, thanks, Tracy. I'm glad you like that DSP. I didn't have anything that I thought was appropriate, so here we are, making our own. So let's take one of the large dots here. I'm actually going to put this, I'm going to put this. I'm going to put this here. Then I'll take a medium peppermint. I'm going to put that up here. And one of the small peppermints, there's 3 sizes in these. I love these things. They're so pretty. And then I'm going to open this, and again, folds flat. Take my Take Your Pick tool. Give those a good press when I'm happy with them so they don't come off, or they're less likely to anyway. Now, what fits in here? That's what you want to know, right? Okay. You can put 4 Ghirardelli peppermint bark chocolates in here. And close that up. Okay. Or here's my Fright Night box. This uses the Fright Night stamp set. Okay, so I took and stamped this. There is a die set to go with this. I did not use the dies. I stamped this on Timid Tiger cardstock with Versamark ink and then used black embossing powder. And then I did have to hand cut these. The die set cuts out the large image. It does not cut out all these little pieces. So I fussy cut those. Yeah, I know it's a lot of work. But it was well worth it, I think. And then this is some of the spooky Halloween, sweet Halloween designer series paper. Okay, so I've got that. And then inside this one, I have a Babe Ruth and a Nessie's Crunch. Now you could put two Babe Ruth in here, but I have one of each of the fun size candy bars. So there's quite a few fun size candy bars that will fit in here. And then I finished out the inside with the remaining images from this set. I'd already cut them out and I didn't want them to go to waste. So there they are. So now, as you can see, you've got a fold flat box for Halloween, a fold flat box for Christmas, and of course, depending on the stamp set, you could make these for any occasion. You can get two out of one piece of cardstock, 8.5 by 11. Make them ahead for whatever occasion you need them, and then you will be ready to go. And all you have to do is put these in a box to store them flat, and then when you're ready, you just pop them up and fill them. So you can make these right now today and save them for Halloween, or save them for Christmas, or save them for a shower, baby shower, bridal shower, whatever. You can decorate with whatever you like, and then have these ready to go for when you need them. All right, so I hope everybody loved that project for tonight. I will be back on Tuesday night at 7 p.m. That will be on my Facebook channel, K&T Designs by Teresa. And we'll have a couple of projects there for you, and hopefully you'll enjoy them and be inspired. So if you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, subscribe and share with your friends if you like what you see and you have some crafty friends and they'd be interested as well. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Good night.